happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. You guys can probably already tell it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely gonna want to see this one. As we got that rogue sanctuary city mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, bringing even more trouble onto himself as he has just been caught in yet another huge lie, essentially sacrificing his entire career for these illegal migrants. Guys, I'm excited to get into this one, so I'll hop straight into it. Just make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Before we get into it, you guys hit that like button, also hit that subscribe button for your boy. And without further ado, let's get straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
Now, he did play dumb though. Okay, so that doesn't help. When he was up and testifying, this is what happened. Let's take a quick look at him playing dumb. So this might not help.
Mayor Johnson, Chicago. How much has the city of Chicago spent on illegal immigration?
If you're referring to the 2022 up to 2024 of the buses coming from Texas, roughly the same percentage of the state of Texas, about 1% of our overall budget.
What is that? Because we don't have the city's budget in front of me. Numbers.
It's 1%, and if you want the actual calculation, we can make sure someone...
You're the mayor, you don't have the math in front of you?
It's 1% of the overall budget over the last 4 years.
That's why you're a failing mayor.
So as you can see, he played dumb. He played dumb, but then in the interview after his congressional testimony, we can see that Mayor Johnson was able to answer the question. And not only does he have, and the strange thing is he has exact figures about the Texas budget, but not about the Chicago budget. Can y'all explain, can make it make sense, y'all? Come on. So here we have a post from reporter William J. Kelly. I think he's the person who asked Mayor Johnson that question. And he says, not to toot my own horn, but I get more answers out of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson with one question and one follow-up than the entire oversight committee got in 6 hours of testimony. However, this tidbit from Mayor Johnson was a bald-faced lie. Under Johnson and Lightfoot, their spending on illegal immigration is much more than 1% of Chicago's budget. 2 migrant shelter vendors alone received in excess of $600 million. And that doesn't include the millions paid to migrant slumlord and ex-con Remo Poselli for use of his properties, the culturally sensitive food vendor contracts, healthcare and food subsidies, and all the hidden spending at the Chicago Department of Children and Family Services. So this reporter is saying not only was Mayor Johnson lying that he didn't know the figures, but when he did finally say the figures after the fact, even that was a lie. Now, of course, y'all, I don't know, but I do find it it's mind-blowing that he would get up there and say, I don't know Chicago figures, but let me tell you about what Texas spent and what their budget is. What?
Are you with that 1%, why couldn't you put a specific number on that? And is that just asylum seekers? Are they conflating undocumented residents?
Well, that's a good question. That's why I was very specific about those who were seeking asylum, right? Because unfortunately, there was a lack of understanding by the Republican Party around what we experienced as a city of Chicago. And it wasn't so much I wasn't willing to give the specific number. What I was working to point out is that the state of Texas spent roughly $221 million to bus migrants, asylum seekers across this country, which essentially was 1% of their overall budget. Now, over the last 3 years, the city of Chicago has spent, less than $300 million. We have spent 20 times the amount with new investments on Black Chicago.
So y'all,
oh my goodness. And this right here is the face of a bold-faced liar. You can see it all. It's in his eyes. I mean, we already seen that it cost $600 million for these migrant shelters in Chicago. That is absolutely insane to me. I'm trying to wrap my head around, that process, how it goes. The only other, rational, logical conclusion I could come to on what's going on here is this guy is receiving kickbacks. His stance for these illegal migrants has stayed the same. He's had unwavering faith in these folks. So it just seems that he's ignoring all the crime, the overrun cities, the abuse and overuse of all of his towns and resources, just so he can get kickbacks, line his pockets with some of that $600 million of the city's budget. It's insane.
20 times the amount with new investments on Black Chicago.
So y'all, as you know, y'all, this is I just find all of this mind-blowing, mind-boggling. I'm trying to understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I'm just trying to get somebody to help me.
Man, I'm glad it's not just me.
Now, we also have a local alderman who came out and spoke out about this. So we're going to take a look at this, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and run that. Please let me know in the comments, what do you think about all this? Do y'all think Mayor Johnson's going to survive politically? Because it seems like it might be over for him. It really does.
With that atrocious and historically low approval rating, there is no way this guy's political career survives after the grifting scheme that we just seen him carrying out. I refuse to believe
Going to survive politically? Because it seems like it might be over for him. It really does. But I don't see why he's sacrificing his political career for this issue. I just don't get it.
How Sanctuary City has affected us over the years now is I always go back to this line I've used numerous times is, when we became a sanctuary city, it was easy to do. It's a pat on our backs or a pat on our administration's back because the border's 1,450 miles away. If the borders were open, the last place we thought people would come would be Chicago, let alone sent to Chicago. And they came in large amounts of people, up to 250, 60,000 plus, probably more than that. It has hurt our infrastructure. It has hurt a city that is already facing an astronomical amount of crime here because of policies that have been passed by progressives and socialists in the city of Chicago. It's made the criminal more of the victim and the victim more of the criminal. And you're bringing all these people here and promising them a better way of life, and you have no programs set up for them. In 1985, when Harold Washington first became the sanctuary city to present date, not a dime has been allocated towards becoming a sanctuary city. And because of that, this better way of life is just, you're here hopefully to be, in the administration's eyes, you are here hopefully to be a vote in the upcoming elections. That didn't work. So there's a lot of people just standing around doing nothing that unfortunately are reverting to crime, looking for a way to support themselves and their family in crime.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you drop all these folks off, you knew you were opening your doors for all these folks. I mean, even if you didn't think it would ever happen, there was a chance. You know, you would, in the back of your mind, okay, there is a chance that at some point in time, since we are labeled as a sanctuary city, guess what? These folks come and they would need a place, they would need resources, but they didn't have any of that in place. You know, and now, like you said, folks are standing around. They've got no means, they've got no food, no money, no resources, especially because Donald Trump is not going to continue to fund this. They're definitely going to turn to crime. You know, when you don't have anything, you don't come from anything, and these folks don't know the way of American culture, they didn't come in the correct way, they're going to turn to crime. And that's what we're all crying about, the spike in crime because of these illegal migrants. And that's why it's so confusing why Mayor Brandon Johnson won't just step out the way and allow his city to be cleaned up. It's sickening.
Into crime, looking for a way to support themselves and their family in crime. It happened in my own community, my own ward. We had a homicide of a man by two illegal immigrants that had murdered him. That one of those illegal immigrants was here on an ankle monitor that was put on them at the border. So you know that this person's a criminal, and you're bringing them to a city that can't handle more crime. The biggest part of this, too, is over the last 5 years, the past two administrations have demonized the police so much to the tune of, we can't get anyone to take this job anymore. When I became a Chicago police officer, I took the test in 1997. I took it with over 45,000 possible candidates. They can't get more than 2,000 people to take this job now, or to take the test to take the job, because they're fearful to take this job. So now you're bringing more crime to it. You're adding more terrible policies on behalf of law and order, and you're bringing more people into the fold. And unfortunately, some of them have to survive, and they're choosing to go to the way of crime to do so. So it has a tremendous effect on Chicago. There is no defense. The only defense is if he goes in there and speaks with his heart for what he wishes the world was and not what it really is, what the reality is. So there is no defense. It's cost taxpayers in the city of Chicago hundreds of millions of dollars, and for no results. A lot of this money went to non-for-profit organizations where we have no track of what they've done or how it's helped anybody. As far as the mayor going out there, he's going, it's the lamb going to the slaughter. And unless he pleads the fifth or just, says, I wish things were better, there's no answer for this. We should not have been a sanctuary city to begin with if we didn't put any funds or allocations appropriate aside to have this done. We shouldn't still be requesting to be a sanctuary city when we know federal dollars are going to be held from our city. You're punishing taxpayers. You punish them by using their money to help the illegals that were here and didn't help them at all. Now you're punishing them because we're going to get no federal funding because we're going to remain a sanctuary city. It's wrong. It's the worst thing we could be doing right now. We're looking at different revenue schemes to help our city budget. I mean, they tried to push a city budget less than 6 months ago that had a $360 million property tax increase on it because they know there's going to be no federal funds coming in the city over the next couple of years. And thank God I had enough aldermen to stand with me and me to stand with them to fight against this, to zero it down and say, no, you're not going to tax or hurt your residents because of what steps you're taking to not help them. We should be working here to tell you how bad this was. When President Trump first got elected, we had a couple individuals on the city floor, on the city council floor, looking to pass a resolution for this. If the federal government says that they're not going to give us funding because we're a sanctuary city, X, Y, and Z, and they're looking for people to support it and be co-sponsors. And I said, well, why wouldn't you write a resolution or an ordinance saying, hey, let's work with the administration until you feel fit that it's not working. You've already demonized his election prior to being in office. You demonized him in 2016 when he was elected, and we didn't work with him. And look where it's got us. Our infrastructure is falling apart. We don't have enough funds to support the city of Chicago. Prospering people are leaving the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois at astronomical numbers. Why don't we do that in the reverse? And if it doesn't work, then you could introduce your ordinance. And they refuse to do it because in Chicago, unfortunately, it's about politics and the party. It's never about people. And that's why we're losing this city.
Yo, there we have it, y'all. Maybe that's our answer for why this rogue sanctuary city mayor Brandon Johnson cannot get out of the way. He cares more about politics going against what Donald Trump says is right than he does about his people, the people of his city of Chicago. This is very sad to see because we're seeing and we're hearing the outcry from these residents. They're saying, hey, we're not able to receive the assistance that we used to get, especially the folks that were using these, government assistance programs. They're getting cut in line by these illegal migrants. It's totally unfair to these individuals that they're being cut in line by non-American citizens, illegal migrants. I mean, there is a correct way to do it. There is a process in place. I'm not sure why Brandon Johnson wants to keep doing this. The only other logical explanation for why Brandon Johnson has stood in the way this entire time is the fact that he may be benefiting personally from this, lining his pockets with taxpayer funds. Would not surprise me. We've seen, when these rogue officials, these rogue agents get in those positions, they use and abuse their power, misuse in order to gain wealth or either gain fame. And it seems like he's doing a little bit of both, guys. But definitely hop in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think. The comments are open. Also, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you did enjoy more content like this, catch you guys on the next week.